back in the Beverage Forum booth. I'm trying to grab everybody I can that walks by. So happy to see Jonathan, a good friend of mine and an LA Libations alum.
Yep.
I would love it, though, if you would introduce yourself and kind of tell us your story.
Sure. Jonathan Silver from Atlanta. I have got a coffee and iced tea distribution company. It's 30 years old now, which is kind of cool. Something I never thought that I would be.
Was it ready to drink? Were you guys doing restaurant?
No. We're primarily food service.
Got it.
And I mean, it's kind of an interesting story. It's called Atlanta Coffee Supply Group. I literally put the word group at the end because I was just like a box of frogs. I'm like, I don't want to do this, right? I don't want to do that. And so I'll always bring you in. You know, if you're a espresso machine guy, I'll bring you in. Anyway, years ago, there was a company that moved into Atlanta from Florida. And I became friends with the old man. And it was an Italian restaurant. Bocce, actually. I don't even know if they're still around. But I remember going into his office one day, and he sits me down. He says, Jonathan, I got to tell you something. I said, well, what? You know, you're going to kick me out? And he goes, no, I like you, and you got to do something about the iced tea. I said, well, what do you mean? He goes, well, you know, essentially he's saying you can't have somebody else run that part of your business. You got to do it. So I said, okay, I'm on it. And we created the brand of Blue Durango.
It sounds so like out west and exotic for a Georgia boy. Like, how'd you land on Blue Durango?
You know what? I'm big on T-shirts. So, in other words, if you have a T-shirt and it's cool, that means you have a company. That's what I was always told. So, no, we had a great logo. The idea, the original logo was just, I was trying to find this sort of western town, tumbleweeds, and I put the word blue in front of it because I thought, oh, that sounds quenching, and Durango means river town. And the more research I did after I'd already done all the logo work and whatnot was to find out that adults don't like blue. You know, kids love blue, candy, whatnot. Their mouth turns blue.
Sure.
And I'm like, oh, shoot. Can I say shit? Oh,
of course you can. It's the internet.
Yeah, right. I can take my shirt off. No, so anyway, Blue Durango was born, and over the years we created this really cool cult following for the beverage, and our restaurant list of clients exploded. And
Wow.
what I learned was that once you have really good iced tea.
So Blue Durango then initially was like a food service brewed tea.
Correct.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And then, do you put that together with like a tea sommelier? Are you doing blends? Is it? I mean, you're in the business.
It's a great question. So if you guys go to the website BlueDurangoIcedTea.com, you'll read the story.
Shout out BlueDurango.com.
You'll read the story, and I had met this I call him the old cagey Brit, and the kind of guy, he's salty. He doesn't really like a lot of people. Somehow or for some reason, he took a liking to me. So, and he was an old tea blender, and full disclosure, I grew up in Atlanta. So when you grow up in Atlanta, you either drink iced tea or you drink Coke products. So we happen to drink Coke products. I really wasn't a big iced tea drinker. And what I said to him was, I want to create a product that I enjoy drinking. So we just went through blend after blend after blend until I hit on something that really tasted like something that I would drink.
And that's interesting too, because I didn't realize that you were probably, soaked in that southern sweet tea growing up in Georgia.
I'm an unsweet tea drinker. So,
yeah, because your product is so fresh, but it surprises me you're not a sweet tea guy.
Yeah, no. I don't do much with sugar. Again, if we're on TV, I'm drinking a beer right now. So.
No, that's why I wanted to have you in. Jonathan's one of the coolest guys I know. Not only are you having a beer, you got great hair. It's the whole package.
Right. I tell my wife that. Anyway, so we create Blue Durango, and I'll just go through quickly in that COVID hits.
Well, but back to the branding side though. So at food service with brewed tea, is branding a thing? Like, are you pushing for menus inclusion and things like that? Like, you're trying to build a brand in someone else's business?
Correct. Yes, we did get branding or menu inclusion, but we were a coffee company. Lake House Coffee is what started this brand again 30 years ago. So, and going back to the story, I didn't have an iced tea that was my own for 5 years until we created it, and then I started to build all of these other products that we were distributing. So we started as coffee, and then it's really an interesting question because coffee, for the most part, in food service, is a back of the house. I mean, right? They could tear open an unlabeled bag, nobody knows it.
In LA, it's all Farmer Brothers, but nobody knows.
Right. Well, so what I thought was cool was, why don't I build a brand that's essentially a wholesale brand? And the restaurant industry is transitory, right? So you and I are working at a place, we leave, we go somewhere else, and you show up and you're like, oh my God, they've got Lake House Coffee. I love that brand. And so we started to build this brand behind the scenes. So that got menu placement. But I thought, well, why can't we do that with iced tea? Because nobody is doing that with iced tea. Again, Louisiana, Tetley, I mean, any of the big companies, and that's what's out there. I built the coffee business by saying, if you're using, like you said, Farmer Brothers, it's a 5-cent cup of coffee. I can give you a 10-cent cup of coffee, and it's exponentially better. Iced tea, we did the same way. I mean, iced tea is, your highest profit margin item on the menu. So if I could give you something that's really good and it'd only be a fraction of a penny better, why not? And how else can I sell something if it doesn't have a brand? So we just set out to build this brand. And like I said, I mean, you can read all these branding books, and it talks about, whatever it takes to build a brand, but it is emotion. And we just hit on something, and just really to fast forward so I don't bore all of your listeners, going to COVID, we almost went out of business because restaurants, basically shut down. What was really interesting was we were having customers calling us saying, "Oh my God, my favorite restaurant isn't open for service. How can I get your tea?" And I was like, holy shit. I mean, I feel like Sally Fields. I mean, people really love us. And so we said, well, let's do something to figure out how to get our iced tea into people's hands, into the consumer's hands directly. Little did I know that getting into RTD or CPG, that it's twice as hard and 4 times as expensive.
That's a big leap.
Yeah. But I don't do anything. I don't seem to do anything on the low side. So consequently, who I do all of our copy, and my friend does all of the artwork. Big fans of Peaky Blinders, and I don't know if you ever
saw that show. Yeah, for sure.
we started playing around with these characters, and ultimately it was kind of like, well, what if we took these post-World War I Englishmen, these roughnecks or gangsters, whatever, and we dropped them into this town of Blue Durango. So the town came about because of our logo development and into, well, now we had this fantasy, again, without the visuals, you can't tell, but we had created this fantasy ocean lapping at the desert kind of thing, again, all about relaxation, quenching, whatnot.
I love it.
And so I said, well, let's do the town of Blue Durango. And we came up with our namesake character, of which I'm not wearing his shirt, but it's Franklin the tea merchant. And he was this Englishman who, they were all leaving, because the war had ravaged the city, and now he's spreading good cheer of tea throughout the West. And to make it more ironic, he's actually riding a penny farthing, which is a large front-wheeled, sort of the precursor to the bicycle. So big front wheel, little back wheel, very dangerous.
Yeah, and the wheel's only limited by the size of your inseam.
Correct. And it's impractical. You can't ride it on the desert, which is kind of or the dirt roads. So anyway, we create this town sort of modeled after the Thornton Wilder sort of one-act play of our town. So I created these characters. Each character had has a profile, taste profile that sort of mimics their personality within the city. That way I figured that every time we add a new flavor, we add a new character, and that character becomes an inhabitant of the town of Blue Durango. So, little did I know that it would catch on. We're real fortunate that the artwork is killer. The other thing that everybody does wear or have in the town, short of the women, is everyone wears tall or stovepipe top hats, and they have fabulous facial hair, whether it's big mustaches or long beards. Why that is, I don't know, but it just seems to work.
It's interesting. It's visually appealing, for sure.
Correct. So anyway, that's kind of how the whole thing came about. And because I was very adept at food service, I didn't know a ton about CPG or the ready-to-drink world. I will put in a plug for LA Libations incubator program, the SIP program. I found you guys, and and we sort of started. What's really interesting to me, and I shot a little video today at the airport, was the first place that we ever showed the product was at Beverage Forum last year. So this really is allowing us to come full circle. We have done a crazy amount of stuff in 1 year.
Yeah.
Crazy amount because I don't know anything else other than we've been real fortunate with success again. And so that's kind of where we are.
If you're comfortable, I'd love you to get out your Instagram, because you're a great follow. Like, I try and follow a lot of entrepreneurs, but in your Instagram, I really feel like we're on the journey. Like you're at airports, you're here, you're there. It's news about the brand. Like you're a good follow.
Well, thank you. We just did. We just became the sponsor for the Atlanta Roller Derby team. Now, right?
I didn't know there was an Atlanta Roller Derby team.
I didn't know a whole lot about roller derby except that I can tell you it's an international sport, and they have moved it. If you're, we're probably close to the same age. We used to watch it on Saturday or Friday nights, and it was on these banked turns, this sort of velodrome.
Yeah, it used to be on TV.
Right. I was a big fan of the movie Roller Ball, which was Jonathan E.
Saw it.
Yeah. Well, the original was James Caan. And they've now called it it's a flat track. So it's an international sport. They've taken the curved sides and they've actually created this flat track. And
wow. Is it harder for them to get around? Because it used to be you shot around the corners.
Correct. It's a really it's a strange sort of a game.
Is it safer?
You know what? It seems to be safer.
Thank goodness.
But they'll bring in, I don't know, 600-700 people into a bout. They call them, and they'll do a couple of bouts a night. For us, it was just an opportunity. We're a quirky brand. It's sort of a quirky sport, so it just made sense to give it a shot.
Is it women or is it mixed? Because my experience on TV was usually it was ladies. Like you see these ladies getting after it.
It is the it's called the North American Women's Flat Track league is what it is.
Legit, dude. I love it.
It's legit. They all have crazy names, and they travel. And in Atlanta, they have 3 teams. The A team being the travel team. They have a World Cup. So every 2 years, there's a big event. I think the top teams are Denver and Portland. Atlanta made it to the championship
Portland
team,
had to be there.
and Australia is like the top team in the country right now. So other than that, I can't tell you a whole lot about it. The woman who I thought it was great. She put it together, and all of my email correspondence was her name, like her, but they go by pseudonyms at the events. Yeah. So I'm walking around.
She's the Mangler.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But I'm calling her first name, and she's like, no. No, nobody knows it.
Cool, James, right, Jonathan.
Right. So anyway, we're doing anything we can to make a difference.
Yeah.
I feel like. You're more adept at really understanding, but I feel like there's a lot of sameness out there. So to your point about being a follow or a good follow, if we're boring, then we're not doing what we need to do, or I'm not doing what I need to do as the founder. The basis of our brand is creativity. Going back to, that we sort of built this brand on a play from 1938. I like to write and do other, creative outlets, and we're a storytelling brand. And, again, you can read and learn anything about a storytelling brand, but I don't know that all the stories are compelling. And our objective with this brand is to actually bring the consumer into something, a la the Keebler Elves, I would always say, which was great because, again, growing up, it's like the Keebler Elves. You had the old guy, and he opened the door in the tree, and you walked into this factory. I was always just, blown away at which I thought was very creative. The M&M character is very similar. So currently we have 6 flavors, and therefore 6 people who live in the town. They're more people in the town, but what we are ultimately going for is this sort of Western steampunk vibe.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think that's so smart. I mean, there's a lot of brands that are looking at influencers and celebrities, and I think that's a great shortcut because really what you're doing is sort of renting or buying their distribution, right? They'll post about it and things like that. But when you create it yourself, you own it. Yeah. And you're not sort of hooked to their baggage. Like that's sometimes you see a brand does a deal with someone and then that someone does something bad and they don't want to be affiliated any longer. Sure. That's why I thought like the Coke polar bears are so interesting, right? Like those bears were going to keep their noses clean because they were products of the Coca-Cola
pure
company.
White. It's interesting. So we did an event this past weekend where we were sampling and at concerts and booze and whatnot. The thing that was also interesting was that they had a lot of THC beverages and they had alcohol and carbonation, and we had everybody coming up to us and their first question was, does it have alcohol? No. Do you have wheat or THC in it? No. Are you carbonated? No. They're like, okay, I'll try it. I mean, there really is this potential overdoing of what's out there. I like to say that we are iced tea. We're about quenching your thirst. We don't try to be anything that we're not other than unique. Our flavors are complex in the tea world, but I mean, you're not going to have raspberry tea. We're not going to do a peach tea. What I learned from blending coffee, which I did many years ago, was that we use generally 3 sort of layering effects. So all of our flavors are going to have something. I'm wearing the shirt for Long Arm Citrus, which is a black tea. It's got lemon, pomegranate, and prickly pear. The hope is that you'll get some citrus on the front and then your fruit as it continues. And we've created all of our flavors like that, and it works. I mean, as my wife goes, I don't know why you're always so surprised. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe as a founder, the difficulty, is really enjoying the success that you're having. The people really like what you've done. I mean, because this is a little far out, I didn't know if people would buy into it. I think that's really helped our sales and getting onto shelves. We were at the KEHE summer show. And, so it's kind of our first big selling show. And I thought, well, what's going to be my lead in? I mean, how is this thing going to work? And I started telling the story about the brand, and I couldn't believe how long people would stay at the booth listening to me, because it's like you could see it in their eyes that they were just taking it in. And it made something a little bit more interesting than just, okay, well, here's again, a strawberry iced tea. And then our artwork is really, really good. Tip of the hat to Tim, who did all of our stuff. I mean, if he ever hears this, he's gonna, I say,
shout out Tim.
Yeah, I'm weird, and he may be weirder. I don't know, but together we can interpret what we want. I was trying to get into advertising many years ago, and what I was good at was taking the clients' wishes and then converting them to the art department and really understanding and getting something out. So this has been my advertising opportunity, I guess.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So where's the brand at these days? Like, where are you at, customer wise, distribution wise?
Good question. We with the help of the SIP program and the fact that I can seemingly talk to a wall, we pitched and won a golden ticket at KEHE, and that got us into a lot of places. At least they're new at KEHE. So
who's going to be here is Deb Conklin, the CEO of KEHE.
Yes. Right, Deb, if you're out there, look for me. I want to say hello.
I'm going to introduce you guys. She's my new best friend. Deb's rad, by the way.
So we also got onto the new for you table, and it's interesting because I think maybe LAL is somewhat involved in or at least in maybe the development of that, and maybe not. But the point is, I never know what to call it. It's either the new for you table, the innovation set. I mean, even the employees at Sprouts sort of have to understand, because we sent a lot of people out or sort of said, hey, go to Sprouts, and people would call me. They go, well, we can't find it. Well, it's on the new for you table, even though it has new for you in a sign. I mean, it was a little tough. So I think that the golden ticket helped us get maybe to the innovation table or the new for you table. And we were at the KEHE show, and Brian, another shout out to Brian, he came by, and I was talking to a customer, and I noticed that he was standing there, and I literally said to the customer, hold on one second, Brian, don't go anywhere, I want to give you a hug. And he looks at me and he goes, a hug? And my wife happened to have been with me, and she goes, Brian, he's been hanging out with me too long, I'll give you a hug. He goes, okay, I'm good with that. So, and I mentioned it because, it really, it brought him sort of into the family of Blue Durango, and really gave us, an opportunity to be on a shelf. So where are we now? What's really crazy is there's a little grocery store in Paia, outside of Maui, a little town in Maui.
I know where it is, yeah.
Called Mana Foods. And I remember I've actually been to that grocery store, and you get the KEHE reports, and I'm like, holy shit, Mana just ordered Mana Foods. I've been there, and I'm like, they just ordered 14 cases. I'm like, holy shit. So we're in Maui.
It's pretty far from Georgia.
Yes,
that's always exciting, yes. Right?
But the beauty is, I don't think that we're an Atlanta brand. I mean, I just don't know.
No, but I remember, so I've been a brand guy too, and I remember, like, in the beginning, there wasn't a can on the shelf if I didn't put it there. And as soon as you realize, oh my God, something got on the shelf and I didn't physically do it myself, that's a big one. And when it's in the middle of the ocean, on the other side of the world.
It's crazy. Right. I'm like, look, if you guys are selling a lot, make sure you order in advance. I think it takes like 5 weeks to get out there. So, but it also gives me the opportunity to go, we're in Hawaii and we're in upstate New York. And,
as far as I'm concerned, that's nationwide.
Yeah, we're big and bad and nationwide. So we have really been able to get it out there, or I should say the KEHE folks, the internet, Instagram, whatever it is, it's gotten us out there. But you really hit it on the head. If I'm blown away that I'm not the one selling. I mean, to say that I'm a bit of that founder control freak, it's like I feel like I have to make every sale, and now it's like people are opening up a book or going on that. I don't think they do books anymore, but
it's like the KEHE catalog.
Yeah, they're like, okay, well, we want that. I'm like, oh my god. So again,
and that's why packaging is so important, right?
Yeah.
Because like if they pulled it out of a page, that means they like the packaging, they like the name, they like the proposition, right?
Yes.
I always tell people when your packaging is good, it's the number one salesman in the company.
Yes, but I will tell you this and I've gone through this now with I love this idea of great packaging. I don't think people, well, again, if you taste good, then you can know I can make this comment, but I think that people forget that taste is still paramount. Again, if I have a killer package, you could probably talk to 80% of the people who buy wine, right? I'm like, oh, hey, wow, that's a cool logo. I'll try it. Now,
the only product I've ever seen where they were like bold about not tasting good, like proud about not tasting good, was 5 Hour Energy.
Yeah.
I talked to the founder, and the founder goes, my people expect it to taste bad because it works.
Right. And it's a shot, though. Yeah. I mean, we're in a 16-ounce can because it is iced tea. You can drink it fast. Again, going back to the old Mellow Yellow ads, if you remember.
Yeah.
With the dragster.
When we worked at Anheuser-Busch, they would either call that gulpable or sessionable.
Okay, perfect.
And I would say your product is both.
Yes, but so it's really been amazing that the product has gotten onto shelves based on, like you said, what it looks like. I think now, and I use Amazon as the example, I still can't believe that someone in some podunk town in the middle of Wyoming has ordered our tea 4 times.
Yeah.
I mean, like, so I know, as I said, taste is paramount. What I tell people is that we only use organic cane sugar, and we only use a little bit of it. I think chemically you really do need sugar to really bring out the botanicals and whatnot. But I said that I made or created the drink to taste like something I would drink, because if the brand just totally failed and I had pallets left, I would be able to drink all of it. I mean, like, and I wouldn't feel bad. So I think that, and I hope, we're only, like I said, 18 months or so into this, coming up on maybe 2 years, but, great packaging and good taste. I really am excited to see where that takes you or takes us. Again, I like to think that people are afraid to tell you that it tastes good or tastes bad. I mean, if you gave me something and it didn't taste good.
I've done some Costco roadshows. They're not afraid to tell you if it's bad.
Good. Well,
you'll get good feedback in places like that.
I'm really excited because people, and again, you're doing sampling. If they go, can I have another one? Like, okay, well, we know that you can have a whole can. If you walk around this show with our can, I'll give you a can.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, so I think that we're real fortunate. I keep using that term because, it's a lot of hard work and hopefully it's paying off, but we taste good, we look cool, and we're just different. We're different in that we are not trying to be anything that we're not. And I just want you to like it. It's a great mixer also, which, is the other thing. Like somebody goes, oh, yeah, you should be in a bar. And I'm like, well, yeah, but right now I'm trying to get it sold or get it out there as an iced tea. And then we'll worry about mixing, with stuff.
What's interesting is, hard teas have become a big thing. Like the blurring lines here, everybody wants to do RTD cocktails. And I think you've got a reason to be an RTD cocktail someday.
Well, so my son's in college. He's like, Dad, and this is also kind of interesting because he's like, Dad, and we need to do an alcohol-based, Blue Durango. So he and I came up with something called Alter Ego, which essentially is the can design, but everything is reversed. So similar profiles, but it would have alcohol. It just puts us in a completely different distribution channel and everything about
it. It's complex.
Yes,
it's complex.
But what was kind of cool that he had said, which I get, is that like everyone's tired of walking around at these parties with a can of Truly or a can of White Claw, and far be it for me to say they're not doing a good job because they're crushing it. But I mean, the idea is that
it's becoming cliche. There,
yes, but kids are really looking for something that they can identify with, or at least people identify them, as, oh, this is a cool brand. Oh, that's a cool can. What is that? And then when you do the tea, it's so easy to drink.
So funny story. When LA Libations got started, Anheuser-Busch was our big client, and they wanted us to do all their non-alc stuff because they didn't want their team taking their eye off beer, and the way the laws work with spending money in alcohol, they wanted us to handle it. So they had done a deal with Jimmy Buffett, and they had Margaritaville tea.
Yeah.
And it was a beautiful product, but golly, everybody I showed it to was like, but there's no booze in it? Like, it's Margaritaville tea, there's no booze in it? I'm like, no booze in it.
Yeah. So it's interesting that I just don't know where it goes. You know, if to ask me, you know, again, where are we in this process, right? So if somebody has thrown out this 5-6 year, you know, that's where most brands, you're going to make it or not within a certain period.
Coca-Cola said it takes 7 years for brands to break through.
Okay, well, I'm looking at 4. I mean, I'm getting old. I don't have 7 years.
Yeah.
No, but I do believe that if you're astute, and I like to read, I like to study, and the reason why I came to something like a Beverage Forum is, and you know, I mean, I've coached, you know, little kids in sports all the way up. I mean, you may have done something similar. And, you know, we would always say you learn more with a loss than you do with a win. And it's incredible to sit here. I remember last year, the 2 guys from Monster, right? They're telling their story, and you're like,
Yeah,
oh
Rodney
my
and Hilton.
God. You know, I mean, look, they just crushed it. But what the best part of the whole presentation was when they talked about how things didn't work. And so, you know, my notes and everything that I'm learning is, you know, what not to do to try, you know, not
Well, that's
to.
why we call this poor decisions.
Yeah. So, and believe me, you talk to every one of these founders, and everyone will tell you poor decisions. I mean, you know, if you said, well, where have you wasted your money? Well, I mean, R&D is a huge part. You can't spend there and not, you know, it's not wasting because you're trying to get to a certain point, but or at least to a taste profile that works. Correct. But still, I'm really trying to be smart or judicious with the moves we make.
Yeah.
I'm always amazed when I look at brands and they've got a ton of employees, or they have spent $50,000. To your point, you're talking about influence. You know, I mean, on social media. And I'm just wondering, like, how do you recoup that? When do you know when it's time to pull back? When do you know when you need to spend more? Well, if we're pretty conservative. It's a small company now. Like, I can't wait till, you know, I say, well, I have to I have to hire, you know, 3 more people to head up different departments. You know, right now we're a lean group. And you know, we use a local co-packer so that you know, I mean, if I have to, I can drive a truck over to, you know, pick stuff up. But you know, it's trying to be conservative without being cheap. And and I think that we're seemingly doing, you know, pretty well with that.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. So we spoke with one of your sort of colleagues yesterday. We spoke to Seth Goldman from Just Iced Tea. And he's still doing it like a founder, like a startup. Like, you know, up until recently when he was on the road, he would have employees double up. Like, we'll save money in hotels. We'll save money where we can because we want to put it into the product. We want to put it on screen. And every dollar we save is $1.50 we don't have to raise.
Right. Well, I spoke to Jess also with the SIP program. And she's like, so is your lovely wife coming? I'm like, I'm not paying to have her fly out here with me and stay in a hotel room and not work.
Well, Brian's giving her hugs, though. She might be your best salesman.
She created the 3-button close. I don't know if you know what the 3-button close is, but you're wearing a T-shirt with or a golf shirt with 3 buttons. Yeah. And we were at an after party. This was long before Blue Durango as a ready to drink, and it was an after party from a food show, and one of the top chefs in the city, of whom we have now worked with, you know, roasting their coffee and whatnot for 20 years now. But we were at the after party. We'd all been drinking, and my wife looks over, and I had said to her, I go, that's, you know, we need to get in front of this guy. I mean, let's talk to him. So immediately she looks at me, she looks at her shirt, she undoes 3 buttons on her shirt and saunters over to this chef. Within a week, I had the business. So
that's why my 3 are buttoned.
Right, and I don't even have buttons. But so, you know, it's, you do what you can or what you have to as a founder. I mean, to me, you know, if we were just to kind of shift gears of you know, what is it like to be a founder? Because I think that's what people may, there's this, you know, crazy thing where they go, oh, you're a founder, you must be a millionaire. You know, I mean, it's like, it's so not the case. I mean, you really have to, you know, enjoy getting, you know, kicked in the head occasionally, but then getting, you know, picked up and patted on the back, and you know, it's a real, you know, challenge. What I was thinking about was, you know, literally when I was kind of shooting this anniversary video, if you will, you know, I said we're kind of like an old lawnmower, you know, with a pull, with a ripcord, because this business is like you're pulling it and it's sputtering and you're pulling it and you're working hard, and then all of a sudden it catches. Well, now it's idling. Then you got to run around to the old. Again, I don't know if the youth of today don't know what an old lawnmower is. But then you got to run around and grab the gearing. So we've pulled it. We've gotten the engine started, but we're still kind of in idle. So because now I want to cut some grass. I mean, I want to get this thing rolling, and we are, but. We don't have any of those cool patterns, cut into the yard yet, but we will. But it is. You just have to know that it doesn't happen quickly, and you have to have some intestinal fortitude, and you have to have luck, and I think that authenticity. The other thing I love doing is coming up with these taglines, and I remember I was sitting at outside by a fire pit with a guy who's in an advertising industry, and we were talking, and he had just come back from a trade show, and he used the term authenticity, and he's like, yeah, authenticity never gets boring. But I'm like, dude, stop. Okay, I'm writing this down. I go, can I use that? So now one of our taglines is authenticity never gets boring, because if you do and say and you are what your brand is, then I think people will buy in.
Yeah.
And that's about all we have. That goes back to the old Southern boy from Georgia. So all I have is my word.
Well, this was great, dude. This was a good one beer podcast. Yeah. So I appreciate it.
Well, I feel terrible. I'm not even pimping my own brand here with with a can of tea. You know what? I do know Craig. I'll put Craig's happy can here. He's a great guy. But
we'll put a logo on the thing, and we'll definitely have links in the comments. So because I want people to follow your Instagram and learn more about your journey.
Yeah. We're at Blue Durango Iced Tea. And then BlueDurangoIcedTea.com. But we appreciate the opportunity, and it does mean a lot. I mean, the SIP family, it was important to our startup.
I'm glad.
However things seem to play out, but I love coming out to these events. I do believe also, as a founder, it's important to be somewhere. Just to close with whether it's at Expo, which actually we didn't go to Expo this year because again, you have to pick and choose where you're going to spend your money. But I do think you need to be available, and you need to be out there, and you need to not be afraid to go up and shake somebody's hand. You mentioned Seth. I knew and bought from Seth from food service back when Honest Tea wasn't, even a beverage. So, it was important for me last time, which is, I guess, it was probably where I saw him last, or the first time, was to come up and go, Seth, you might not remember me, but this is what we're doing. And, I don't look at us necessarily as to say we happen to both be in the tea business.
But there's a lot of lanes in the tea business,
and frankly, I think there's plenty of room on the shelf for both of us, and we hit different markets. But an opportunity to meet someone like that at an event, these are very important. So if you can save or spend wisely, pick your spots, be somewhere. You have to be out, and you have to be visible, and I think people need to understand that as a founder, you are here to really support whomever that may be, Albertsons or whatnot.
Well, that's well said. My partner Danny has got a saying that we try and live by around LA Libations, and it's show up.
Yeah.
Just showing up is going to allow you the opportunity to do something that you wouldn't have if you didn't show up.
There was I rented an old warehouse, and there was a sign on the wall, and it just said success is just 82% of being there. Yeah. So that's the other one I really like is now I'm forgetting. It's sales without margin is like eating soup with a fork. I love that too. So, and that's the other hardest thing is that you have to have some runway. I mean, you've got to have some money because, generally speaking, founders or the brands are the last ones to get paid. I mean, everyone's looking.
A lot of it is like being able to have that staying power and being around the hoop. So when you have your moment, when consumers discover you in mass, you're there.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is buy your product that you use to put into your can far enough in advance and make sure it doesn't go bad. I mean, that's the other thing is, again, a KEHE. So we got into these DCs, and I know I'm probably up against the clock, but the idea is that when they say they want, 70 cases of this and 30 cases of that, and they need it picked up in 4 days, if you don't have the inventory, you only get maybe one time of saying, hold on, give me 2 weeks and I'll get it together. So you really have got to be prepared both financially and inventory wise or whatever it's going to
meet the moment.
Yes, meet the moment. I love it. That's what we're going to do.
Fantastic, Jonathan. I'm so glad we got a chance to chat. We are absolutely cheering for you, brother. If there's anything I can do to help you out, let me know.
Okay.
Thanks, Jonathan.
You got it.